customer group. A customer group is a way that you as a LMyWorkforce partner can work with a group of people. You can have them complete interest surveys, different types of assessments and activities, and then you can view those activities through the customer groups. So maybe they might be in a workshop or even doing this on their own. Once you can send a message to them and have them complete. And also send them messages and follow up with them as well. So anybody who can be in a customer group, anyone who has an LMyWorkNet account can be added to a customer group. And we've updated the process a little bit since last summer. And you can, if you are synced, or if you are in IWDS and you have a case manager role, then with your customer groups, you already have customer groups. They're in your LMyWorkNet account. You may not realize that they're there, but now if you're not synced, if you don't have an IWDS account, then you can still use customer groups. We have a little bit different process for that. It's called the invitation process. And you can still invite people to be part of your customer group so you can use assessments and view their activities and communicate with them through customer groups. So whenever we look at customer groups, we go into your Workforce Professionals Pathway account, and there's a menu item that says Customer Groups. If you haven't gone to your customer group yet, it'll ask you to activate your customer group. And whenever you do so, with the case manager role, then you'll see an area here that says My Customers. So anyone that is assigned to you in IWDS as your customer, you will have them basically in a subgroup, a filtered group already. And then you'll also see an area that says that anyone who you have access to in IWDS, then you can also access them as well within your customer group. So whenever you go to your customer group, you can invite customers to your group, and once they are in there, then you can see their contact information and links to their assessments. You can also, where it says customer emails, you can also send them custom emails. So you can send a message to their LMyWorkNet account. You can send a message to their email account. You can send a message to both. You can copy yourself on those. So there's all different types of options for you with the customer emails. Just to let you know, primarily that it is completely customizable for you. You have your own title and a description, or I'm sorry, your content, and the email appears to come on LMyWorkNet. It's coming from you. Okay, let me make this a little bit larger here. Once you have your person in your account, as I mentioned before, you have their you have their information. So the first area is you have their name, username, date of birth, and the answer to the secret question. Now we have this here because there are some instances where people forget their password, and first and foremost, whenever a person forgets their password, we always ask them to use the Get Password Help, and that's located right have the information emailed to them, so they can just simply reset their password from a link in their email. Or the other option, if maybe they don't use that email anymore, or there's a typo, there's something wrong with the email, then they might need to add or to use the second option, which is to provide your username, date of birth, and the answer to the secret question. You can provide your customers with those 3 bits of information, and they can recover and update their password. Then you also have their contact information, and you have the links to the various assessments. So you have their customer summary, which has all their information, but primarily it includes the activity, the responses to their activities, the pre-assessment that is available. It's like a pre-assessment and a study guide, and then their post-assessment, which is the career development assessment. So those are available through the customer summary. We have a worksite evaluation, which is completed by an employer, and we're also making some updates on that, so hopefully those will be available next week. But the worksite evaluation is available because it is an evaluation that you as a workforce professional or your employer completes. The individual does not complete it. The observational evaluation or assessment is available, and we'll take a look at that as well. But it is always available because, again, that's something that you as a workforce professional or as an instructor, you would complete that for your customer, and then they would be able to view the results on their end as well. There are a couple other items that, if they're available, they will appear in this column. So we have view interest. Now, the view interest is a link to the results from an a career and interest survey, self-surveys. And again, these are completed by your customer. So once your customer completes them and saves the results, then the link is available. We also have the NOC 21st Century Skills Assessment. We are currently working on another project with a disability calculator. So in some rare instances, at least for now, you might see an additional link here, and it would have the results for the disability calculator. With the activities that I mentioned that are available, we have the pre-assessment. The pre-assessment is set up to be a mainly like a study guide. It's 54 questions long, and it covers all of the information that's available on the career development assessment, the NOC 21st Century Skills Assessment, and the observational assessment and the worksite evaluation. So you complete it once, and then after that, it's just simply available there for you as a study guide, and it links back to resources into LMyWorkNet to help you, again, links to additional resources to help you enhance those skills. Then we have our various activities for preparing, finding training, finding a job, and different activities for achieving goals. So these were developed for the Summer Youth Employment Program, and they are an online activity, so it links back to resources within LMyWorkNet, but they can also be printed with instructions on how to access information as well, and then a person can go back in later on, I guess, and type in their information and save it. Once they save their information within their account, then you as a workforce professional can view it. And then we also have the Career Development Post-Assessment. And with the Career Development Post-Assessment, it mainly covers information for preparing to find a job, finding training, putting together your resume, preparing for an interview, a little bit of money management information, goal setting, those type of things that are not necessarily on the NOC assessment or the observational assessment. So once they complete the career development assessment, the post-assessment, then it will unlock a certificate of completion. And with that, to successfully complete the career development post-assessment, they just simply have to score 70% or higher, and there's an unlimited number of attempts that they can as they move forward and add additional assessments, then those additional assessments can be added to the certificate of completion as well. And again, all of this is viewable for you as a workforce professional through customer groups. We do have a couple of items available that are self-survey, and I had mentioned this before, that you can view them in your customer groups. And we have the Skills and Interest Profiler. These results are saved, and they are saved within the individual's account, so you can view them through the customer groups. We have another type of self-survey that's available that's not available through your customer groups, but we just want to make sure that you know that it is available. It's a self-survey. It walks person through the different types of where they are with their computer skills, and then next steps and available resources to helping them with improving their computer skills. But these results are not saved within LMyWorkNet, so they will not be available through the customer groups. Now, through each of the assessments that are available through customer groups, they are all linked back to, and including some of the activities, they're all linked back to the skills wheel. And the reason why I mention that is because we have the pre-assessment that covers all the resources that's linked back to the skills wheel. And the skills wheel includes activities, resources, worksheets, all different types of things that you can use with your customer to help prepare them for those assessments. And this was developed based on the national and state standards. And what we found was there's a lot of information out there, and a lot of people are saying the same thing, but they're just saying it a little bit differently. And we needed a way to take all of that information and compile it so that we are linking and have a way to crosswalk the assessments that are available in the LMyWorkNet to those definitions and those resources. So all that information was put into our skills wheel, and each of these soft skill areas in the academic, the only one that doesn't have it set up this way is the industry-wide technical skills, because that leads to finding technical training. But the other areas on the skills wheel have 3 areas. And it starts out with a scenario. What would you do in this situation? And then it leads to the next page is a listing of all of the skills and their definitions. And then we have the next steps after that. How can you use that information to update your resume, prepare for an interview, and so forth. So all that information is available and linked from your assessment results as well, and your study guide. We also have all these resources available on the Workforce Professionals pathway in a variety of ways and places, but this is just an example. On the Resources tab, we have a sample of how you can use the customer groups and the different resources, whether it's activities or assessments, through that are available through LMyWorkNet. And it's not that this is the only way to do it. This is just a sample process flow. So if you have it gives you a scenario, if the person comes into a class or orientation, how you can have them complete the computer skills. You can also add them to your customer group. So whenever you click on these areas in this process flow, it takes you to the resources within LMyWorkNet. And then we also have a text version as well. So that's an overview of the resources that we have in LMyWorkNet. And what I'm going to do is I want to move this over a little bit, and so that I can make it much larger for you. And you can go ahead if you have any questions and type them in. I'm going to switch over and share my computer screen, because what I want to do is show you what it looks like whenever you go to your customer groups. And I want to start out, because I noticed that we did have several people that were that have an IWDS account that has a case manager role. And let me zoom in a little bit so it's easier for you to see. So this might kind of mess up some of how the text is formatted, but I did zoom in, so hopefully it's easier for you to see. And this is an example of a person that has their account linked up. They have an IWDS account with case manager role or higher, and they have access to their customers. So I'm not going to click on it because I don't want to expose customer information, real customer information. But for my customers, whenever this person clicks on this link, anyone who is associated or connected as their case manager in IWDS, they already have a filtered group that's available here for them. Now, under where it says your LWIA group and you have registered and universal, you have a drop-down list. So this person has access to adult, dislocated, and worker and universal customers. If you have access to TAA and youth that are available through your account, then you will see those options here as well. And the same thing with the exited groups. I saw a question come in. Okay, good question. Should case managers sign up for LMyWorkNet? If you're a case manager in IWDS, an LMyWorkNet account has already been created for you, and you should have received an email notice upon creation. But if you haven't, that's okay. I will look you up and we'll make sure you have that login information. So I'll do that. I'll check on that for you after the webinar. Okay. Now keep in mind with your groups, especially in some of your areas, you'll know that if you look at adult or if you have some of these groups, your listing of customers can be quite large. So what you do have the ability, you already have your filtered group that's already created for you through IWDS. But if you need an additional subgroup or a way to manage your people in a way, let's say maybe you have a group of people that are all in the same training program, or they are all kind of on the same track, they're all in the same group or job club or something like that. What you can do is just click on the button to create a subgroup, and you can pick and pull people from your customer groups and add them so you can create your own filtered group. And so you can have as many of these as you want. And so what we do is just suggest that your subgroups just match whatever your workflow is. You already have this group created for you, and you can do the same with the rest of your LWIA groups. Now, you also have the ability to use the invitation groups as well. You don't have to, since you have a whole bunch of customers that are already in there, but if you're working with somebody that's not in IWDS, then you can go ahead and invite them to your group as well. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my account because my professionals group. You click on customer groups. You'll come to this page. If you haven't ever done it before, it'll say activate your customer group or your personal group. And you can do that. Once you do that, then you'll see you have your personal group. When you click on it for the first time, then you won't see anybody in your group. You have two ways of inviting customers to your group. You can click on Invite Customer, and you can invite individuals. Now, when you do this, you need to have their email address, and it will send them an email that says something to the effect of, join my customer group. It'll allow me to help you with, viewing activities, giving you, updates, and I can't remember exactly what it says, but there's a standard email that just explains the different tools that are available and how a customer group could benefit them. So that's one way to do it. And you would have to send that out individually to each person. My preference, personal preference, is the group invitation. Because with a group invitation, you can set up one. And we have some people that, they might have, you might be in a, okay, the question was, what if I didn't have a customer's email address? Then that's fine. This is what you would use. You would use the customer group. So let's say you have a group of people in a classroom, especially for instructors or people that aren't in IWDS, whether they're in a classroom or they're in a workshop. What you can do is set up your passcode. And I'm just going to use Telger, let's see, November 8th. And I'm going to call it my workshop group. And we'll just, that just as an example. So My passcode is Telger November 8th. Now some people, they might want to have, they want to have their customers as they come in go ahead and join the group. So what you can, whether it's in a workshop or maybe it's in your resource room and you're working with specific people, what it happens is you go ahead and set your passcode, title, description, and at the top, once you submit it, it says successfully created the group invitation, gives you a link, gives you your passcode. But the key is here to print and view your business cards. What it's going to do is print out a sheet that has the URL, the login information, and the passcode. And so these are basically just instructions on how people can be added to your customer group. So if you have everybody in a workshop, you could just either print these out ahead of time, or you could project it up on the screen and say, okay, everybody go to follow step 1, go to this URL. Okay. And then it's going to prompt them to either log in or set up an account. If they don't already have an account, then they can set one up, and then they can write down their username and password, and then it has the passcode. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to open up, and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to open up a new session. I'm going to go to that URL. Think of HTTP. Okay, let me zoom out a little bit. So when I go to this page, it says if you already have an LMyWork account, great. If you don't, then log in. So I'm going to log into an account. And once I log in to my account, then I have to enter that passcode that was on that business card. Let me, if I remember correctly. It's not case sensitive. Okay. Well, this particular person is already in my customer group, but if they weren't in my customer group, then it would say, you would see here's the title of my customer group. Here's the text that I had entered in. It gives them the information of who I am because I'm the person that's requesting them. So if they don't know me, then they might not want to join my group. So at that time, they have the choice to either accept the invitation or they can deny the invitation. If they accept the invitation, then they're automatically put into your customer group at that time. So let me go back to my page. So you can, if you wanted to, some people might want to print out a grouping, several of the business cards and just have them available, or you just might want to put them out for a workshop. No matter how you have that set up, those people are all going to go into your customer group. So it's not going to go into a customer group for your, 5 different people. It's only going to go, you're the one that set it up, you're the one that requested it, they're going to go into your personal group. So whenever you invite somebody, because you might only have 7 people or 20 people, but what happens when you start getting up to the 50, 150, 200 people? You might want to use your subgroup item. You can go ahead and put it in, maybe I would want to create a subgroup that's for my November workshop group or my training, a certain type of training program. Again, whatever follows my workflow, that's the type of subgroup that I want to create. And again, it's just simply a way to filter out the people so you can put them into manageable size groups. Instead of having to deal with 150 people, I can deal with 10, 15, 50 people. Okay? Any questions so far? I see somebody's typing. Okay, can your clients from your customer group, can you put people from your customer group into subgroups? Yes, that's where they come from. So whenever you go to you have your personal group, Anybody that is in your personal group, I only have 7 and they're made up people, but if I had 200 of them, I definitely would want to go and click on create a subgroup. We'll just give it workshop November, and then it gives me the option to go through and add customers to my subgroup, and I can go through and search for my customers and add them to my customer group. Okay. So for each of my customers that are in my customer group, you can see that I have their contact, their information for helping them into their account. I also have their contact information, and I have a link to all their assessments. One of the columns that we haven't talked about is the actions column, and you have 2 options here. You have remove and you have archive. And now this is for your personal group, okay, not your IWDS group. This is for your personal group. Now, if you remove a person, it's okay. You're not removing them from WorkNet. You're only removing them from your group. All their information stays within their LMyWorkNet account. But once you remove them, in order to add them back into your group, then you're going to have to send them another invitation. But let's just say that, I'm not working with customer 1 right now, and I'm not really going to work with them for, the next 6 months, but then then I know that I'll be working with customer 1 again. I can archive customer 1 and put them in my archive group, and then if I'm like, uh-oh, I didn't mean to archive customer 1, that was an accident, then I can always just go back over to my archive customers and I can activate them. So you have the ability to archive some of the customers that you're not currently working with, especially if you're not ready to remove them from your group because you think that you might work with them in the future. So once you activate them, they go back into your personal group. Again, you can create subgroups and so forth to manage those people. Okay. Now I'm going to show you real quickly to look at the customer summary. The customer summary has, if they were in past summer youth programs or different types of programs, then all that information is saved with that customer. So this particular customer has 2009 and the 2010 information, so you can see their scores, and you can also click to look at their activity responses. Currently, the latest set of activities are the employability activities, and that includes all the new information for customers. For the skills wheel and the observational NOC assessment. Okay, so you can find everything under the customer summary. But I'm going to go ahead down to Pat WorkNet because Pat's been around for a while, and we're going to take a look at Pat's customer summary. And so you see all their contact information at the top and their activities, and I can look at their current employability activities. And so this is the activity. It gives you the activity information, and then you'll see that where it says artistic, social, realistic, that is information that was saved by Pat. So click on what type of, what's your interest results. So you want to be a nurse. And if there's no answer provided, it just simply tells you that no answer was provided for that particular activity. You can also look at the observational evaluations through this tool as well, and the worksite evaluations. Those are also available on this. You don't have to. You can go directly there. You don't have to always go through the customer summary. So the worksite evaluation, if you want to complete a worksite evaluation, you simply go to the worksite evaluation section, and currently it's set up so that the workforce professional has to enter the information, but the plan is to save it within the customer's account. So you don't have to fill it out. You would just simply enter the information to send it to the supervisor of the person in the work experience. The observational assessment, it was developed by the Chicago Workforce Investment Council, and they use it in the Chicago Public Schools. It's had a lot of really good feedback on the observational assessment as well, and we've made it available through LMyWorkNet. And this is intended to be used as a tool over time. So as you're working with a person, let's say like a 6-week time period or so, you can start out, giving them initial feedback on, about appearance and hygiene, timeliness, attitude, accountability, and then the individual will be able to see their results within their account, and you can use it as a tool, to give them feedback on what areas they need to work on. Each time you click on each of these links, this is the rubric, okay? So under attitude, if I want to know the definition for attitude, what's considered below standard, as you open them up, your rubric is incorporated into the assessment. So you can just simply go down, especially after you do 1 or 2 of these, you already know what the definitions are. And you can save these. You can preview them and save them. And for each of these items where it says Learn More, it links back to the resources that are in LMyWorkNet. So your customer, this is a view that your customer would see, and they would see how you rated them. And then if they're like, oh, here's a big red flag, I didn't do so well in this area, maybe I need to go and see what's in LMyWorkNet and how they describe what is a positive attitude. And so I would click on the link. It would take me to the resources within LMyWorkNet that describes the different types of areas, skill areas under positive attitude, and the definitions for each of these. And then additional resources for how to improve positive thinking and all that kind of good stuff. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. And these open into a new window so that if I did Pat WorkNet, I could just easily complete the assessment, close it, go back down to customer 41, complete the assessment, and so forth. Filers are incorporated into the activity. So if they're working on the activities, one of them is the activities is to complete an interest profiler. So you can click on View Interest, and if they have, a bunch of these saved, then you can see as many as they have saved. This Pat only has 1 set of scores saved. So I can click on them, and I can see what the scores were for each of these areas. Can you go over the NOC 21st century? Yep, I can. Also, the NOC 21st century skills, that's available, and I'll show you how to access that in just a second. But for a person that has multiple dates, they can, again, take the NOC 21st century skills assessment multiple times. And so you would select a date, and this person doesn't actually have a score, but let's just assuming that you could see the percentages here on what areas they need to work on. And again, if they need to work on reasoning and problem solving, you click to Learn More, and it takes you back to the resources within LMyWorkNet for reasoning and problem solving. So I'm assuming the question is, how do I, okay, so let me just, in summary, real quick. You can get to your customer groups. You click on customer groups. You select which kind of customer group that you would like. Once you select that customer group, whether it's LWIA or personal, it'll take you to this listing. You can search for customers. Also, my programmer is going to be adding a search feature based on, especially for those LWIA-wide areas, based on, I believe, on a city and zip code too. So it'll be easier for you to narrow down a grouping of people that are like within your county or so forth. So that's under Show Search Options. You can also send them emails. You can send an email, you can send a user message, or both. User message just goes to their LMyWorkNet account. You can choose to either CC you on all the emails, so if you send out an email to 100 people, because remember, whoever you're in your customer group, if you want to send it to a subgroup, you select your subgroup, and then you go to emails. And then, let's say, if you send it to 100 people, then you're going to get 100 emails, 100 copies. And some people want that because they print them out and put them in their file. Other people, you may just want me, just send me one copy, and I'll keep that for my records, or none. So that's an option as well. And then there's also a tab for different types of, instructions on the resources that are available. But the question was, can you go over the NOC 21st century skills? So yes. So to access that, the NOC 21st century, what we're working towards too, let me just say, as we're working towards a tab approach, so we're modifying some of our items over here on the left so that we can easily put those into tabs that will go across the top of your page. So we're starting to put more and more things into My Tools, okay? So under My Tools, that's where you find the different types of assessments as well, because those are tools that you can use with your customers. And then for the NOC assessment, click on NOC Assessment. Now the first time you go to this page, the step 1, you can see I already agreed to the terms of use, okay? If your location has not agreed to become a NOC testing location, then what it's going to do, it's going to tell you, first of all, it's going to check to see if you have an organization administration role or higher. If you do not, then what it's going to do, it's going to tell you to contact either your org admin or your LMyWorkNet coordinator, and if neither one of those people are available on that list, then you need to contact info@lmyworknet.com, and it'll tell you this, because we can go ahead and get you set up so that you can become a NOC testing location. This step is important because whoever initiates this request is going to be the site contact person for the NOC, the agreement with NOC. So if we need to get a hold of you, or if NOC needs to, for whatever reason, they know who the correct person is to contact. That's why that first step is important. If your site has already agreed to become a testing center, then what you will still have the first step, and it will tell you to agree to the use of terms. So you read the terms and agree to them. If you agree to them, go ahead and click and agree to them. And once you do that, then you will automatically have access to ordering the NOC assessments. It's immediate. So immediately when your site requests to become a site and agree to the terms, then you will have access to agree to the terms and order assessments. And all of these order assessment details are available up here in the notes and the instructions, but I will quickly go over them. There's also a proctoring guide. And so forth. So there's all different types of instructions that are available up here as well. You have two options for the test sessions. You have a one session, which is a 2-hour session. The person probably won't need 2 hours, but they can have up to 2 hours to complete the assessment. And then we have 2 60-minute sessions. So, they get an hour each time. They have a classification, youth, adults, displaced workers, and they all get the same assessment. The only reason why we have this available here is so that if you want to take a look at your numbers later on down the road, you can, you're comparing apples to apples, because the assumption is that displaced workers are going to score much higher on the assessment than a person with no work experience. So select the classification when you order the assessment. If you have someone that needs, they have like a assistive technology type deal, maybe they have a visual impairment or they just need text-to-speech, you can order that assessment as well. So whatever if you want one session for youth that's not text-to-speech, then you just type in however many you need. So if you want 5 of them, that's great. If you need 25 of them, that's fine. If you need, if you want to order only one that's text-to-speech because you only have one person that needs it, you can order just one, okay? So you set up that criteria. You can just set up your passcode. It could be, Telger or, test, whatever you want it to be, November 8th. And if I'm ordering a text-to-speech, I might do text-to-speech just so I know which one is different. And I just type in the testing date, so I can order it even as, late as right now. So I could do 11/08, and then I can request the assessment. And whenever I do this, then it's just like my invitation. I go here and I can print out my business card. Now, since I only ordered one of these because I only have one person that would need text-to-speech, then I, definitely want to keep my one business card available for them. But we do ask that you only order however many that you need for that particular session. So if you only need, you only have 5 people or 15 people that are going to be taking the assessment on a particular day, just only order, like the 15. You can always do a last minute ordering more. It's not a problem at all. You have immediate access to it, which is really nice, because with the old way, you would need to wait, you need to order them at least 2 days in advance, and this is just, literally minutes before you can order them. But they do have a shelf life, so if you haven't used them within, I believe it's 60 days, then they will expire. So, if you only need 25, don't order 75. And then you can see your past orders as well. Okay, so once they do that, then they will just simply follow the instructions on the business card. And I'll just go ahead and go to this page, go to a new session, and I'll just log in as customer 43 again. Let me type in my URL, and log in. And actually, I'm going to go back if I can figure out which window it is. And I'm just going to pick an old. Let me try this one here. My old passcode instead of the text-to-speech one. And I enter the code, and then all I do is click Take Assessment and wait for it to redirect, and then I'm automatically logged into my assessment, and it's 100 questions, and Oh, you know what? I probably used an old one that wasn't valid anymore. Sorry about that. But anyway, it just takes you to a page where it's just multiple choice questions, and it gives you a timer so you know how much time is left on the screen, and it also includes where you can mark it, or you can choose to go back to it later on, and then 2 days, because the scores go to NOC, and then for the official results from NOC, then we go to the results tab, and that would be available. Now you can see that this particular person doesn't have the 21st century skills, but if it was available, then they would be able to see it on their results tab, and you would also be able to see it on the customer group site. Okay, so are there any other questions? No questions? Okay, since I'm right here, this is a person, customer 43 is logged in, and when you send a message to a customer, they can click on well, first of all, they'll get a big green box up here at the top that tells them they have messages, but they can click on messages, and these are the test messages. They can simply read it. If it doesn't require action, then they can delete it if they would like to. They can also save their own shortcuts. Their skills, this is where they would save their interest inventory information. So they can access their interest profiler, skill profiler, workplace locator, career cluster inventory, and they can save the results in there. To access their activities, they simply click on activities. They can take the pre-assessment, which is 54 questions long. So it's quite a long pre-assessment, but once they do that, there's no time limit. Once they do that, then they have the answers and the link back to resources within the LMyWorkNet that they can use as a study guide. And again, the last customer group, or how to access customers, sending messages, accessing assessments. See, we have a typing going on. I know once you get into it, you'll probably have more and more questions, and you can always send them to info@lmyworknet.com, and then that way if I'm in the office, then I can answer it right away, or if I'm not in the office, then they can answer it or direct you to the right person. You still see typing. Okay. Does a case manager need to use the social network? When you say the social network, do you mean like follow us on like the Twitter and LinkedIn and all that kind of good stuff? Or what do you mean by social network? I would suggest that you follow us on, Facebook and, the LinkedIn. We do have another tool that we're going to be using. I haven't tried it out yet personally. Maybe, I'm not sure if Juana has, where we can do, kind of like mini webinars and have them available through Facebook, like live mini webinars. So we'll probably do more of that through Facebook, and you can archive them, so that's kind of a cool thing. But, just to keep you up to date on some of the new releases and, tools and different resources that are available, we just suggest that you follow us or ask that you follow us. It's a good question. Okay. Any other questions? Alrighty. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully you're able to, it was helpful, and you're inspired to go in and set up your customers. If you would like to just test it out, if you're a person that just wants to kind of get their feet wet and experience it before you start adding actual customers, you can always send me an email. And my email, let me go ahead and I will type it in here. Oops, I can type here. You can send me an email and invite me to be one of your customers, and that way you can take a look at it. Okay, case manager who has an IW, they need to, wait a minute. No, a case manager doesn't need to create an LMyWorkNet account because one should have been created for you already. So I'm going to go ahead and